Ladies, let me tell you something. Men can be the most confusing creatures on this planet. One minute, he's all over you, calling, texting, wanting to see you. The next, he's acting like you're a stranger on a bus, and you're sitting there thinking, did I do something wrong? No, baby, you didn't. Sometimes, that distance is not rejection, it's obsession in disguise. Some men don't know how to process feelings, so they back up a little, but trust me, you're still running through his mind all day like his favorite song on repeat. Today, I'm going to give you 9 clear signs that man is thinking about you, even when he's acting like he's not. When a man is truly thinking about you, even when he seems busy or distant, he will always find a way to check in. It may not always be a grand gesture or an hours-long conversation, but it will be something small, subtle, yet consistent that lets you know you are still on his mind. This is the kind of communication that doesn't just happen because he has nothing else to do. It happens because he feels that pull toward you, that need to somehow stay connected, even if life is pulling him in 100 different directions. Checking in can take many forms. Sometimes it's a quick text out of nowhere with a funny meme or a random picture that reminded him of you. Other times, it's a simple, how's your day going? In the middle of the afternoon when you least expect it. It can even be something as small as reacting to your social media post or liking an old picture you posted months ago. All of these are his way of keeping a thread of communication alive, making sure you know that you still matter to him, even when his schedule doesn't allow for long talks or daily meet-ups. The reason this kind of check-in is so powerful is because it's rarely about the content of the message. It's about the intent behind it. If he sends you a picture of a coffee cup, it's not because he thinks you desperately need to know he had a cappuccino. It's because he remembers you love coffee, and he's letting you into his moment. When a man goes out of his way to share little things, it's his way of saying, I'm including you in my life, even in the smallest ways. It's also important to understand that men often communicate differently than women. A woman might want deep emotional exchanges to feel connected, while a man may show connection through short bursts of contact that say, I haven't forgotten about you. He might not always verbalize his feelings directly, but his actions speak for him. Those accidental messages are often deliberate. They're his safe way of saying he cares without being overly vulnerable before he's ready. Think about it. If someone wasn't interested, they wouldn't bother to send anything at all. The fact that he takes a moment out of his day, however small, to reach out means you occupy space in his mind. It's like he has an invisible checklist of people who matter to him, and no matter how hectic things get, you're on it. Here's an example to illustrate this point clearly. Imagine Sarah and Daniel. They've been casually dating for a few months, and recently Daniel has been swamped with work. Sarah starts to feel like he's drifting away because they haven't been seeing each other as often. But every few days, Daniel sends her a random message, sometimes a picture of his dog making a funny face, sometimes a link to an article about a place they once talked about visiting, sometimes a single line that says, remember that pasta place, still thinking about it. On the surface, these messages might seem small, but to Sarah, they are proof that she hasn't faded from his mind. Even when life is chaotic, he still finds a way to bridge that gap and remind her she matters. In reality, those moments are often more telling than constant communication. Anyone can talk when they're free, but it takes genuine interest for someone to make time when they're not. That's why a man who checks in during his busiest moments isn't just being polite. He's making a statement. His actions are saying, you're important enough for me to reach out, even when I can't be there in person. It's these subtle, almost hidden connections that build trust and intimacy over time. They may not feel like grand romantic gestures, but they are often the most genuine indicators of where his heart truly is. When a man knows the details you never told him twice, it's one of the clearest signs that you occupy a special place in his mind. Most of us go through conversations where little facts are exchanged. What foods we like, which songs make us smile, the small quirks that make us unique. Many people hear those things in the moment and then let them slip away. But when he remembers them, without you having to repeat yourself, That means he was paying attention in a way that's deliberate and personal. This kind of memory isn't just about having a sharp mind, it's about having a focused heart. The truth is, people don't store every detail they hear. The brain filters information constantly, keeping what it finds important and discarding the rest. So when a man recalls the little things you've said in passing, it's because he has decided, consciously or unconsciously, that you matter enough for those details to be saved. It might be a random story you told about your childhood, a specific snack you like at midnight, or even the way you take your tea. He locks it away because, to him, these small fragments paint the bigger picture of who you are. And the beauty of this kind of attention is that it often reveals itself unexpectedly. He might show up one day with that brand of chocolate you mentioned weeks ago, or he might steer the evening toward that restaurant you once said you'd love to try. Sometimes he doesn't even announce it. He just quietly incorporates those details into his actions. That's how you know it's genuine. It's not about impressing you in a grand, public way. It's about showing you he sees you, hears you, and values even the smallest parts of you. Men who remember these details are showing a level of emotional investment that can't be faked. It means he listens when you speak, not out of politeness, but because he genuinely wants to know you better. And here's the thing. People don't put that kind of energy into remembering facts about just anyone. They do it for the people they're emotionally drawn to. It's like your voice has a bookmark in his mind, and every time something connects to it, he's reminded of you. This also ties into how attraction and connection work for many men. While they may not always express their feelings openly, they often express them through actions. Remembering your preferences, dislikes, and random little stories is their way of staying connected to you without necessarily saying the words, "I'm thinking about you." The act of recalling these details is, in itself, a form of silent affection. For example, imagine Emily and Jason. Months ago, during a casual conversation, Emily mentioned that as a kid, her grandmother used to make a very specific type of lemon cake, and she hadn't had anything like it in years. She said it once in the middle of a conversation about childhood memories and never brought it up again. Weeks later, on a rainy Saturday, Jason shows up at her place with a slice of that exact cake from a bakery across town. He doesn't make a big deal about it. He just says, "I remembered you mentioned this." Emily is stunned. She hadn't even thought he was paying that much attention, yet here he was, proving it with a simple but deeply thoughtful gesture. That's not something you can force or fake. That's the product of genuine interest and care. When a man notices and remembers the things you never told him twice, it's a quiet but powerful way of saying, "You matter to me, and I want to understand you on a deeper level." It's the kind of sign you shouldn't overlook because it reveals the way his mind and heart are working when you're not around. When his friends already know about you before you've even had the chance to introduce yourself, it's a powerful sign that you're living rent-free in his mind. Men don't go around talking in detail about every woman they meet. In fact, many men tend to keep casual connections or passing interests completely private from their inner circle. But when you become a recurring topic in his conversations with his closest friends, it means you've crossed a line from someone he's simply dating to someone he's genuinely invested in. His friends are the people he trusts most, the ones he shares his wins, frustrations, and private thoughts with. If you've made it into that circle, even just as a story or a name, then you've already made a mark on his heart. The way men talk to their friends often reveals their true feelings. They might not get into flowery details, but the fact that he's bringing you up at all says a lot. It means you're not just a passing thought, you're part of the narrative of his life right now. And when his friends greet you like they already know you, mentioning your favorite food, teasing him about something you said, or joking about how much he talks about you, it's because he's been talking about you more than you realize. He's let them in on the little details, the kind of things a man only repeats because they're stuck in his mind. It's also worth noting that when a man is proud to talk about you to his friends, it's an indirect form of claiming you, not in a possessive way, but in a "this is someone special to me" way. Men can be territorial about their emotional attachments. If he's putting your name in the ears of his closest crew, he's subtly letting them know you're not just another face in his life. You matter enough to be part of his personal conversations, and that's a big deal. On top of that, his friends knowing you means he's likely talking about you in different contexts, not just about how you look or how fun you are, but about who you are. He's probably told them about your personality, your habits, the things you like and dislike. That kind of detail doesn't come from a shallow connection. It comes from someone who's genuinely paying attention and feeling something deeper. Here's a perfect example. Picture this: Mia has been dating Ryan for a short while, and they haven't met each other's friends yet. One night, Ryan invites her to a small get-together with his closest buddies. She walks in, and before Ryan can even introduce her, one of his friends says, "Ah, so you're the girl who loves hiking and can't go a week without Thai food." Another one laughs and says, "We've heard so much about you. It's about time we met you in person." Mia is surprised because she never told any of them these things, but it's clear Ryan has. And the way they're smiling and teasing him tells her all she needs to know. He's been talking about her a lot, and not just once in passing. Moments like that are telling because they don't happen by accident. His friends aren't psychic. The only way they know is because he talks about you when you're not there, which means you're on his mind enough for him to bring you up repeatedly. That's not a casual crush. That's investment, pride, and a little bit of obsession wrapped up in everyday conversation. And when his inner circle is already rooting for you, before they've even met you, it's because he's made you a significant part of his story. When a man mirrors your energy, it's one of the clearest and most subconscious signs that he's emotionally in tune with you. This isn't something he plans or carefully executes. It happens naturally because he's so attuned to your mood, your behavior, and your presence. Mirroring is a subtle but powerful form of connection. It's when his actions, tone, and even timing seem to reflect yours, almost like you're both dancing to the same rhythm without anyone calling the steps. You smile more, he starts smiling more. You slow down communication, he does the same. You get busy and post less on social media, and suddenly his activity drops too. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. Human beings mirror people they feel deeply connected to. It's a psychological response to attraction and interest. In relationships, this often shows up as him matching your pace, your tone, or your habits. If you're upbeat and playful, he finds himself more lighthearted. If you're quieter and reflective, he might naturally adopt a softer approach. This isn't him trying to copy you in a calculated way, it's his emotion syncing with yours. The fact that this happens without either of you saying, "Let's act the same," is exactly what makes it meaningful. It's instinctive. Mirroring energy can be a sign of respect too. A man who's genuinely invested in you will subconsciously adjust himself to your level so you feel understood. If you're having a slow, calm day, he won't bombard you with the top jokes or high energy banter. Instead, he'll meet you where you are emotionally. And when you're feeling excited or motivated, he'll naturally bring his energy up to match yours. This back and forth builds emotional trust because it shows he's paying attention to you, not just moving through the relationship on his own wavelength. On a deeper level, this kind of mirroring also speaks to compatibility. People who naturally fall into each other's rhythm tend to feel more sync overall. It can make interactions feel effortless, almost like you're speaking the same unspoken language. It's one of those things that makes you think, "We'll just get each other." And in his case, it's a clear indicator that he's not just hearing you, he's feeling you. Here's an example that brings this to life. Imagine Sophia and Mark. Sophia is usually very active on social media, posting photos of her day and little snippets of her life. One week she decides to take a break and stay low-key online. She doesn't mention it to Mark. She just quietly stops posting. Over the next few days, she notices something interesting. Mark, who normally posts sports updates and funny memes, hasn't posted anything either. It's not because he's suddenly lost interest in social media. It's because, without realizing it, his rhythm has matched hers. Later, when they meet for coffee, Sophia is more quiet and thoughtful than usual, reflecting on a tough week at work. Instead of pushing conversation in a different direction, Mark slows down his tone, listens more, and matches her pace. She leaves that meeting feeling like he really got her, even though she never explained her mood. This is the power of mirroring. It's silent, it's subtle, but it's telling. When a man reflects your energy back to you, it's a sign you've got more than just his attention. You've got his emotional focus. He's not just observing your life from the outside. He's walking alongside you in step, even if he doesn't realize he's doing it. That level of connection is rare, and it's one of the strongest indicators that you're on his mind far more often than he lets on. When a man keeps showing up in the same places you happen to be, especially when it starts feeling like more than coincidence, it's often a clear sign you're on his mind far more than he's admitting. People don't accidentally cross paths repeatedly in today's world, where schedules are packed and locations are chosen intentionally. If he appears at your favorite coffee shop, the gym you go to, the bookstore you love, or even events you casually mentioned, chances are it's not by random chance. He made it happen. This kind of accidental meeting is often his way of creating opportunities to see you without openly confessing he planned it. When a man is thinking about you constantly, he starts to take notice of your habits, your go-to spots, and your preferred activities. If he knows you grab lunch at a certain cafe every Thursday, he might just decide to be in the neighborhood around that time. If he's aware you attend a weekly yoga class, he might suddenly have a reason to check out the fitness center. It's not about stalking. It's about looking for windows to cross paths in a natural, low-pressure way. That face-to-face moment gives him a chance to connect without having to schedule a formal meeting, which can sometimes feel more intimidating. This behavior also reflects something deeper. He's prioritizing proximity to you. People naturally make time for what matters to them, and showing up where you are is a way of placing himself within your orbit. By being physically present, he increases the chances of interaction, and those interactions, no matter how small, are fuel for the connection he's trying to build or maintain. It's not always about long conversations. Sometimes just being seen by you is enough for him to feel a step closer. Another layer to this is the way he reacts when you spot him. Often there's a casual, "Oh hey, what a surprise," on his lips, but the look in his eyes might tell a different story. It's not a startled, awkward surprise. It's a warm, ready to engage kind of surprise. And if you pay attention, these encounters are rarely completely random. Either he's there before you arrive, or he lingers until you get there, as if timing was working in his favor. Here's an example to illustrate this clearly. Imagine Claire has a routine of going to a quiet park every Saturday morning to read. She mentioned this once in passing during a conversation with Adam, a guy she's been talking to, but hasn't labeled anything with yet. A few weeks later, she's sitting on her usual bench when she hears someone say her name. She looks up, and there's Adam holding a coffee and smiling. "Didn't know you came here," he says casually. They end up chatting for 30 minutes before going their separate ways. The following Saturday, he's there again, this time with a book of his own. Claire starts to realize these coincidences are happening too often to be unplanned. Adam didn't just stumble across a spot. He remembered what she told him, showed up, and found a natural way to be part of her weekend. Moments like these are subtle, but they reveal intention. If someone wasn't interested, they wouldn't rearrange their day or remember your schedule enough to make an appearance. When he shows up where you are, it's his way of staying connected, creating shared experiences, and keeping himself visible in your world. Even if he plays it off as chance, the truth is simple. He knew exactly what he was doing because you've been on his mind. When a man gets jealous without admitting it, it's often one of the most telling signs that you hold a special place in his heart. Jealousy is a natural human emotion, and while some people express it openly, others try to keep it under control, especially if they haven't fully revealed their feelings. Men in particular may mask their jealousy to avoid looking vulnerable or insecure. Instead of blurting out, "I don't like you talking about other guys," they'll stay quiet, change their tone, or subtly shift their mood. But make no mistake, Those small reactions are their way of processing the discomfort of imagining your attention going elsewhere. The interesting thing about unspoken jealousy is that it often comes out in micro expressions and behavior changes. You might notice his smile tighten, his replies get shorter, or his jokes suddenly carry a little edge when you mention another man's name. He may lean back, fold his arms, or suddenly steer the conversation in a new direction. These are defensive moves, his way of regaining control of his emotions without openly admitting they've been triggered. He wants to appear unaffected, but internally, he's running through scenarios. Who is this other guy? How close are they? Do I need to step up my game? This kind of jealousy usually appears when a man is invested in you but hasn't fully claimed that space yet. Maybe you're still in the talking stage, or maybe he hasn't put a label on your relationship. Either way, he's aware of other potential competitors and doesn't like the idea of losing your attention. Instead of expressing that directly, which could feel too revealing, he tries to play it cool. Ironically, this attempt to hide his feelings often makes his jealousy even more obvious, because when a man genuinely doesn't care, there's no emotional shift at all. It's also important to understand why he hides it. Many men are taught that showing jealousy can make them look insecure or needy, so they internalize it and try to keep it under wraps. But that emotional flicker you see is actually a sign that you matter to him, enough for him to feel protective of the connection you share. It's not always about control or possessiveness. Sometimes it's simply the fear of losing someone he values. Here's a clear example. Imagine Lily and Matt have been dating casually for a few months. Over dinner one evening, Lily mentions that a coworker, James, helped her fix her computer at work. She doesn't think twice about it. It's just part of her day. But Matt's reaction shifts ever so slightly. His smile fades just a little, his tone drops half a notch, and he asks, "Oh, so you and James work closely together?" He tries to keep it light, even adding a quick joke, but for the rest of the evening, he seems quieter. The next week, Lily notices he starts asking more about her day, who she spends time with, and even makes more effort to plan dates. He never says, "I got jealous," but his actions reveal that the thought of another man catching her attention lit a spark under him. That's the essence of silent jealousy. It's a mix of curiosity, concern, and subtle competitiveness. While he may not admit it out loud, his behavior shifts because you've unknowingly touched a sensitive spot. And in many cases, that little surge of jealousy pushes him to step up and make sure he's the one who holds your focus. When a man responds to old conversations, it's one of the clearest indicators that you've been lingering in his thoughts long after the words were spoken. Most conversations in life are temporary. They happen, we move on, and the details fade into the background. But when something you said sticks with him, it means it resonated deeply enough for him to store it away. And when he brings it up later, unprompted, that's proof he's been carrying it around in his mind. This isn't just casual remembering, it's replaying moments because they made an emotional impact on him. This type of behavior shows that he's not just listening to reply in the moment, he's listening to remember. Maybe you once told a story that made him laugh, or shared a dream that made him admire you more, or mentioned a detail about your life that he found endearing. If he circles back to it days, weeks, or even months later, it's because that memory has lived rent-free in his head. This is particularly significant when you never mentioned it again, and there was no reason for him to recall it, except for the fact that it mattered to him. When he references an old conversation, it's also a way of showing you that he values your words. Many people underestimate how meaningful it is to be remembered. In a world where we're bombarded with constant information, someone making the effort, or having the instinct, to hold on to what you said is a sign of care. It's his way of saying, "You made an impression on me, and I don't want to forget it." Often, these moments happen unexpectedly. You might be talking about something completely unrelated, and he'll suddenly connect it back to a past moment. "That reminds me of what you told me about your trip to Italy." Or, "Didn't you once say you wanted to learn guitar?" It's like he's been collecting puzzle pieces of who you are, and he's now fitting them together. It's worth noting that people don't usually remember trivial details about someone they don't care about. Our brains prioritize memories that have emotional significance. If something you said keeps replaying in his head, it's because it's tied to a feeling, amusement, admiration, intrigue, or affection. And by bringing it up, he's trying to rekindle that feeling with you, to revisit that moment you shared. Here's an example to illustrate this clearly. Imagine Hannah and Chris have been talking for a while. One evening, weeks ago, Hannah mentioned in passing that as a kid she used to watch the stars with her dad and always dreamed of owning a telescope. It wasn't a big conversation, just a few sentences before they moved on to another topic. Fast forward a month later, during a random text exchange, Chris suddenly says, "Hey, I saw a telescope in the store today and it made me think of you. They had one with a moon filter. You'd probably love that." Hannah is surprised. She never repeated that story or emphasized it, yet here he is, not only remembering it but connecting it to his day. That's not coincidence. That's someone who's been holding onto her words and letting them echo in his mind. When a man responds to old conversations, it's a quiet form of intimacy. It shows that your voice doesn't just fade into the noise of his daily life. It lingers, shapes his thoughts, and sometimes even influences his actions. It's proof that even when you're not around, he's still carrying pieces of you with him. When a man truly has feelings for you, there's one thing he can't fully control: his eyes. Words can be chosen carefully, actions can be masked, and emotions can be tucked away behind a calm exterior, but the eyes often reveal the truth long before the mouth does. There's an old saying that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and that's especially true when it comes to attraction and emotional connection. A man might try to play it cool, act casual, or even pretend he's not as interested as he really is, but if you pay close attention, his gaze will give him away. When a man is genuinely drawn to you, his eyes naturally linger. It's not the kind of stare that feels uncomfortable or invasive. It's softer, warmer, and often unintentional. Sometimes he's not even aware he's doing it. He'll hold eye contact a fraction of a second longer than most people, or his eyes will follow you in a room without him realizing it. You might catch him looking at you when he thinks you're not paying attention, and instead of looking away immediately, he might pause for just a heartbeat, as if memorizing the moment. This kind of look isn't about physical attraction alone, it's about emotional investment. His eyes are reflecting what's going on inside: admiration, curiosity, and sometimes a deep sense of, "You matter to me." It's also why it can feel so intense when your eyes meet his unexpectedly. In that split second, you can almost feel the unspoken things he hasn't said yet. It's not just about how often he looks at you. It's about how his expression changes when he does. The pupils may dilate, his face might relax, or his eyes might light up when you enter a space. These are physical reactions tied to genuine emotion and interest. You can fake a smile, but you can't fake that sudden spark in your eyes when someone you care about walks in. And here's another subtle sign: when you're talking, even in a group, his focus tends to return to you. He'll scan the room, engage with others, but you'll notice his gaze keeps finding its way back. It's his way of staying connected, even if he's not actively part of the conversation at that moment. That repeated pull towards you is an unspoken form of attention that's hard to hide. Here's an example to make this real. Imagine Julia and Ethan are at a mutual friend's birthday party. The room is full of people, music is playing, and everyone is chatting in small groups. Julia is across the room talking to someone else when she glances up and catches Ethan looking at her. He quickly smiles but doesn't seem embarrassed, just caught in the moment. Later, while she's telling a funny story to a group, she notices Ethan watching her with a soft, amused look, even though he's standing with completely different people. He never interrupts her, but every time she glances his way, his eyes meet hers like it's the most natural thing in the world. By the end of the night, Julia realizes she's exchanged more silent conversations with him through eye contact than actual words. That's the beauty of the eyes. They bypass all the social walls and reveal what's really happening underneath. When a man can't hide his eyes, it's because they're working on instinct, responding to how he feels rather than what he's trying to project. If you want to know whether you're truly on his mind, sometimes you don't need to hear it. You just need to see it in the way he looks at you. When a man is truly thinking about you, one of the clearest ways it shows is in the quiet, almost unspoken efforts he makes to impress you. These aren't always grand gestures or flashy displays meant to get the attention of everyone around. Often, there are subtle changes and upgrades in his appearance, behavior, or lifestyle that are aimed squarely at you. He might get a fresh haircut before he sees you, start wearing a new cologne, or choose clothes that he thinks you'll notice. Maybe he starts going to the gym more regularly, not just for his health, but because he wants to look and feel his best in your presence. The key here is that these efforts often appear suddenly and align closely with the timing of when you've entered his life or when his interest in you has deepened. Men are visual and intentional creatures when it comes to attraction. They know that presentation matters, and if they're drawn to someone, they'll put in the extra work to stand out in her eyes. Even small, seemingly insignificant choices can carry meaning. A man who once dressed casually might start paying more attention to his style. One who never cared much for grooming might now be keeping his beard perfectly trimmed or making sure his shoes are spotless. It's not just about looks either. A man who wants to impress you may subtly elevate other parts of his life. He might take you to a nicer restaurant than usual, bring up an interesting topic he knows you're passionate about, or suddenly develop a skill he's hinted you'd find appealing. These are all ways of signaling, I'm putting in effort because you matter to me. What makes this sign so telling is that it's rarely done for anyone else. He's not suddenly dressing better for his coworkers or lifting weights for strangers at the gym. He's doing it because the thought of you motivates him to step up his game. And often he won't openly say, I did this for you. He'll pretend it's just coincidence or brush it off if you comment on it. But if you look closely, the timing and consistency of these changes are tied directly to your presence in his life. Here's a clear example. Imagine Natalie has been casually seeing Jake for a couple of months. When they first met, Jake was a jeans and old sneakers kind of guy. He wasn't sloppy, but style clearly wasn't a priority. One Friday, they make plans to meet for dinner. When Natalie arrives, she notices Jake's wearing a crisp, well-fitted shirt she's never seen before, and his hair is freshly cut. He smells faintly of a new cologne. She compliments him, and he shrugs, saying, Figured I'd try something different. Over the next few weeks, she starts to notice he's dressing sharper every time they meet, even on casual coffee dates. Then she remembers that a month earlier, she'd mentioned she loved men who wore clean, tailored clothes. It wasn't a demand, just an offhand comment. Now, it's clear Jake remembered, and he's made quiet but consistent changes to align with what she finds attractive. That's the essence of subtle efforts to impress. It's not about creating a fake image or trying too hard. It's about genuinely wanting to be the best version of himself when he's around you. Whether it's his appearance, his manners, or his lifestyle, these little adjustments are his way of saying, without words, I care what you think, and I want you to see me at my best. And when those efforts keep showing up, it's a strong sign you're not just crossing his mind, you're staying there. Listen, a man who's obsessed but acting distant is like a kid holding his favorite toy behind his back. He doesn't want to show it because he's scared someone might take it. But don't get it twisted, his distance doesn't mean absence. Pay attention to the little signs, because love often hides in the details. If you recognize these signs, don't rush him. Let him figure out his feelings, because when a man realizes you're the one, that distance will disappear real quick. And when he steps up, you'll know without a doubt you've been on his mind the whole time.